So let's create another function called spawn monsters. And we created another function because we like to keep the functions short and to do one thing each. So this one is going to create the arena, and this is going to spawn our monsters. And so we want to spawn the monsters after we create the arena. So why don't we just drag this spawn monsters function call to the end of create arena. And so every time create arena is called, it's going to build our structure, and then it's going to spawn the monsters in. Okay, so what do we want to do in the spawn monsters function? We want to spawn a certain number of monsters and a certain type of monsters. And if you remember from the video, on the first level only zombies spawn, and then on the second level there were zombies and spiders. On the third level there were zombies, spiders, creepers, and so on until on the seventh level there were all of these. There were zombies, spiders, creepers, cave spiders, magma cubes, witches, and blazes. So, well, I can already see an error here. It says set level to 0. We actually want level to be 1 to start out with. So we're going to first want to determine how many monsters we want to spawn. And so something to do with the difficulty of the minigame is how many monsters are going to come out at a time. And so on the first level you may want just a few, maybe 3 or 4, but on the second level you might want to double that and make it 7 or 8, 9. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a new variable, and we're going to name it the number of monsters. And we're going to set this to a mathematical expression. It's going to be simple. It's just going to be the level, the current level the player is on, times, let's make it 5. And so if the player's on the first level, the number of monsters that are going to spawn is going to be level, which is 1 times 5. It's going to be 5 monsters that spawn on the first level, 10 on the second, and so on and so forth until you're at the 7th level, and then it's going to be a lot of monsters, 35. So now that we have the monsters out of the way, let's use a loop construct, a repeat construct, to actually spawn the monsters in game. So how many times do we want this to run? We want it to repeat for the number of monsters times. So go into our variables, drag the number of monsters here. So on the first level, remember number of monsters was 5. 1 times 5 is 5, so we're going to repeat 5 times on the first level. So we have our number of monsters set up, we have our repetition set up. Now we want to deal with the type of monsters that spawn. So on the first level we only want zombies to spawn. On the second level, zombies and spiders. Third level, zombies, spiders, creepers. And so the way we're going to do that is we're going to use a variable, and we're going to call the variable random monster index. And so if we want a total of 5 monsters to spawn from only the zombies, that's kind of easy. We just want our index to be 1. So it picks from the list this first element, which is the zombie. But if we're on the 5th level, where zombies, spiders, creepers, cave spiders, and magma cubes spawn, and 5 times 5 is 25, it's going to be 25 total monsters, we want it to pick randomly from these 5 monsters in here. So the way we're going to do that is to use this random integer block, Now, if you haven't seen Steven's series on randomness, you should check that out in the playlists on this Learn to Mod channel. He goes over this random integer block very in depth and creates some really cool stuff with it. So I'm not going to go over it too in depth. You can check out Steven's video if you want. But the gist of it is it's going to select a random integer from 1 to our maximum, which is not supposed to be 5. It's supposed to be, here's the trick, it's going to be level. And so if our level is 1, a random integer from 1 to 1, it's just going to be 1. A random integer from 1 to 2, if our level was 2, it's going to be like a coin flip, like in the first part of the randomness video that Steven made. It's going to be either a 1 or a 2. And so it's either going to be corresponding to a zombie or a spider. And as you can see, when this level goes higher to 6 or 7, it can take on the values of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 7 if level is 7. That means all the monsters are able to be picked. And so now, since we have our random monster that we're going to select, let's create another variable that is the monster itself. So this is going to be random monster. And we're going to access this list. And the way we do that is with this list block, we're going to use enlist get number. So our list is called monsters. So enlist monsters, get number, or get index, and our index, we've already set it right here. It's random monster index. So variables random monster index, there you go. And so now random monster is going to be either an entity type zombie or an entity type cave spider. If the player is on level 4, it's going to be a random one depending on their level, which is exactly what we wanted. And what we want to do with this monster is we want to spawn it in the game. So if you remember, our drone is at the melon block. So why don't we move drone backward 1 just to make sure the monster doesn't get stuck in the melon block. And let's have the drone spawn mob of type random monster, which is the monster that we've selected randomly from that list. And so, as you can see, these 3 blocks of code are going to be executed a certain number of times depending on what level the player is on in the minigame, and that's going to add to the difficulty of the minigame. It's going to add more monsters as the player goes to the later levels. And so let's check out what this does in game right now. Okay, we run the mod, creates the arena, creates the melon block, and as you can see, there are 5 zombies, but they're all together. They should pop out any second. There you go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 zombies protecting the melon block. And so that was just the first level. If the level is higher, 10 monsters will spawn, and it'll be random between zombies and spiders, and we'll see that in a sec. But right now, the melon block, it still does nothing when we break it. We want it to move the player to a higher level so they can progress through the game. And so let's go program that in.